Today we're playing a game where we spend $25,000 on beds and get a brand new office. Yeah, we're playing Real Estate Simulator again. Here's how it went. We wrapped up the last episode having just bought our first house. This house to be exact. We paid around $30k to buy it, and to get it up to its max potential and max profit, we had to upgrade it. Now when we were buying and selling tents, all we had to do was put a sleeping bag on the floor, and that would be it. However, having a house is a completely different story. Unfortunately, a single sleeping bag wasn't going to cut it, so we headed back to the office to peruse the marketplace, aptly named Shop Express, because it was, well, a shop, but also because it was fast. I mean, where else can you order $260 worth of carpet and have it in your hand in the time it takes for you to turn your computer off? Speaking of hands, I also found out that we could use our middle finger too. That's handy. Anyway, to upgrade our first house, we had to get our property rating up. This time around there are up to 4 levels, so we set about figuring out how to decorate the house. But here's the thing, it occurred to me that we're here to get rich, not to make properties look pretty. So I started looking at the store, and I mean really looking at the store. You see, the listings online were structured in a way where you see the product image, the price, and how much the item increased the property rating by. And here's the thing, take this lamp, $199, right? And for that you get a plus 25 on your rating. Great. But take a look at this carpet, that's a plus 5 on the rating and costs $5. Now if we're trying to maximize our profit, the lamp is $7.96 per rating point, whereas the carpet is $1 per rating point. So I bought a bunch of flooring and a bunch of wall stuff, and I got to work. Now usually if you're plastering a wall, you take off the wallpaper, but apparently we're not into that kind of stuff. So we plastered straight on top of the wallpaper because we're real estate agents and we haven't got time for these small details. Also, check this out, right? We can literally plaster walls through the frame of the door. It's like a magic trick. You open the door and ta-da! The room is plastered. Let's ignore the fact that we missed a few spots. Next, we cracked on with the flooring. We decided to remove this lovely wood flooring and replace it with this beautiful brown carpet. Exactly what someone would want in their house. Still, it could be worse. You could run out of carpet halfway through and have to use pink carpet too. We even put carpet in the toilet room because nothing says that you're in the 50s like nice porous carpet next to your toilet bowl. Unfortunately, we soon realised houses have a limited amount of walls and floors. I tried to see if I could upgrade the rating if I kept painting the walls different colours. So here's what I tried. I tried putting plaster down and then painting over the plaster. That worked aesthetically, but it didn't work because the game just doesn't give you points for painting a wall twice, which is understandable. So we went back to the drawing board. Sorry, I meant Shop Express, and we started looking through the various items we've already unlocked, which is when I stumbled across this, a bed pour. Now, don't ask me why it's labelled that, I don't have an answer, but this bed gave us a plus 150 on our rating and cost us a grand total of $250. But what did this equate to? Well, 150 points is the same as painting 30 walls, which is probably how many walls there are in the house to begin with. So this small bed will take up less space and give us 150 points per bed. Doing the maths again, this gave us $1.66 for every rating point. This was it. This was what we'd been looking for. So I bought 98 beds. For some reason, 99 wasn't an option. And we headed back to the house, where we proceeded to plaster the floor with beds. I even tried putting one in the bathroom. Apparently that's where the game draws the line. The rest of the rooms though, all good. While I was laying beds everywhere, I took a peek inside the fridge and found this, a random photo of some dude. So I took it. It might make a nice souvenir. Anyway, in total it took us 9 beds to reach the max rating, which means that we only spent like $2,500. With a completely maxed out property rating, we headed back to the office. On a side note, I was wandering around outside when I noticed we had hit 10 PM, and 2 things happened. Firstly, the clock stopped at 10 PM, but the world continued. I mean, I have never in my life seen a residential area this busy, especially 10 PM at night. Secondly, look at the sky. Notice anything wrong? A bit sunny for 10 PM at night, don't you think? Perhaps we're in a simulation after all. One where we're forced to buy and sell houses until infinity. Anyway, we got to work with pricing the property. I initially tried to put it up for 80k, but apparently that wasn't possible from this office. I eventually put the property up for 65k. Unfortunately, I couldn't go beyond that because the game limits how much you can sell properties for from this office. This means we had a new target in our sights, and that was to buy a new office. But first we had to build up the money, and that involved selling this house. So we got it listed and went to sleep. In the morning we had someone come straight in, but they were poor, and so we sat as we had time waster after time waster after time waster, telling us it was too expensive, that it wasn't what they were looking for, blah blah blah. Until finally Margaret here agreed to take a look. So we headed to the house, where Margaret did a very thorough inspection of the property. I think she appreciated that there were 9 beds in there. I mean, based on the way she phased through them all during her inspection. Clearly she was interested. She even came in with a lowball offer. So of course, I made a counter offer of 85k,
Thanks, but I'll decline.
20k more than the list, but she declined. So we reduced it down to 70k, and finally we had a deal. Margaret was overjoyed with her new house, and I was overjoyed with my bank balance. So we left her to enjoy her new beds, and had a little wander around the neighbourhood to see if there were any more properties within our budget. We had a look at a handful. Unfortunately, we were slightly short. Most of these properties were over 300k, something we couldn't afford just yet. But imagine the sweet profit we'd make, and we finally bought one. Eventually we found one and headed inside to make a deal. After some vigorous negotiating, we got this place for 5k less than asking price. We set about decorating this place with more beds, before heading back to the office to list the property. On the way back, we found this cute collectible cat. We could use it to decorate our office with it. We listed the property for 65k again. This time, I decided to keep track of how much more I could negotiate up, and she took the place for 70k, 5k more than I listed it for, and 28k more than I bought it for. We were making money fast, so we got to work. Buying more houses, placing more beds, and selling for outrageous profits.
Exactly what I was looking for.
Here's what I figured out in that time. For these smaller properties, I could negotiate down by about $5,272 consistently. I mean, without fail. And I could negotiate up from 65k by around 10 to 11 grand.
Perfect fit for.
Now we were in a position to buy our next office. Turns out it was only 75 grand. We probably could have bought it earlier. With a new office in place, our upper listing limit went from 65k all the way up to 1.3 million. So naturally, the first thing I did was try to sell this 39k house for 1.3 million. Unfortunately, no one was interested. I'm not sure why. They were getting a huge bargain. Eventually, I knocked it down to a 75k listing, and it sold for 76k. To be honest, at this point we'd cracked the code, and we'd almost hit 200k. So we left Brandon to his new beds, and hit the streets again, looking for our next purchase. With our 168k, we had a lot more choice, and this house with a garage attached caught my eye. So we headed inside to see how much we could lowball this sucker for. True to our findings, we got this place for $5,275 less than he was selling it for. As soon as Marcus left, we whipped out the hammer and got to work ripping out these nice wooden floors, in favour of this hot pink carpet. Can't forget the toilet room too. This place was bigger, with more walls and more floors. It even had a bedroom, with a built-in cupboard, and a garage, which got the hot pink treatment too. I don't know about you, but I love brown stains on my carpet. From engine oil, obviously. We also had a new magic trick. We could plaster under the wallpaper without even having to take it off. Finally, it was my favourite part. The beds. And this time I could be tactical about it. You see, we could put beds in the bedroom. Crazy, right? We could even put some in the garage and one in the kitchen. That left a few more for the hallway and we were done. We wrapped up the day by listing the property and then headed to bed. In the morning, we had some more time wasters come through, until Barbara. Just like Margaret, she did an inspection, but not a thorough one. She didn't find the beds in the garage or the bedroom, which gave me an idea for the next one. Anyway, she obviously bought the property. I mean, you can't say no to hot pink. And as we were heading out, we noticed something odd. Where the hell were we? Were we being abducted? What was going on? We tried to exit and ended up back on the road again. That was weird. Anyway, with a 183k budget, we went property hunting again. We took a look at this house at the end of the street, but it was 1.4 million. Not quite within our budget. This one, however, is 44k. We can afford that. We went straight in with a low offer of 39k and then started our normal process of decorating. I thought I'd jazz it up this time though. So along with the pink floors, I did pink walls too and mixed it in with some plaster, just to give it some more character. Finally, the beds went in and we were once again ready to sell. Before that though, we still had some time left in the day, so we made the most of it and hunted out another property for us to buy. This one was the one with a garage. This should work. We bought the place and did our usual transformations. This time I opted for pink all over, so here's my idea from earlier. And no, it wasn't the pink wallpaper. I decided to try and fit all the beds into the bedroom and the garage. What this meant was that when someone came to visit, they would briefly look around the property as they usually do, but they wouldn't see the beds, because they don't even look behind the doors. Anyway, back in the office, we listed the properties and went to sleep. The next day, we sold off 2 properties pretty quickly.
Exactly what I was looking for.
At this point, we actually had enough money to buy one of those fancy 2-story houses. How exciting. This person, they wanted 227k for it. I offered 180,
This is the perfect
saving
fit
myself
for
a
me.
good chunk of money. Once the property was ours, the process stayed the same. New walls, new floors, new beds. I was even able to do the flooring upstairs while stood on the ground floor. Back in the office, we listed this new 2-story house for 400k. I thought I was being unreasonable at that price. I was wrong, because I then proceeded to sell the property for $450,000. And so it went. We were on a roll. I bought and sold a handful more properties until we ended up here, 1.4 million. Our whole journey had led up to this moment. To think, we had started by buying and selling tents, and now we were walking up to that house, the one at the end of the street, ready to drop 1.4 million on a property, not knowing I was about to make a stupid mistake. You see, I completely forgot about the limit that was on my current office on how much you can list properties for. 1.3 million, remember? Yeah, so I bought this house for 900k, decorated it up as usual, headed back to the office to list it, and this is when I finally realised that I wasn't going to be able to list it for what I wanted, and I was way too greedy to be listing it for 1.3 million. So I thought, hey, why don't I just go and buy the next office up? Well, here's why. Because I just bought a 900k property, and now I didn't even have enough to buy the office. I was at a stalemate. I digress though. That was how we became a millionaire, all thanks to some double beds. If you got this far, then give the video a thumbs up. If you want to see more, hit subscribe. Thanks for watching. See ya.